Well, if you watch the Black Caps against Bangladesh, you know that we could do with a fit Shane Bond right now. Until he called over on his career, Bond was New Zealand's most lethal fast bowler. Unusually, he was always quiet, even shy. But as Paula Penfold's been discovering, there's a naughty side to cricket's Mr Nice Guy.
Should he go back? Did he run in? Yeah. We go back there then.
This is about as much as he plays these days. It's a shorter run-up.
Ready?
And the pitch is a little on the small side.
Oh.
But the outcome, just the same. Of course, his 2-year-old son should hardly feel bad. Because his dad, Shane Bond, has knocked over the stumps of the world's best batsman, the bowler who's given us some of our proudest moments in cricket. A career impressive for its ruthlessness, but blighted by injury and controversy. You were called a mercenary.
Yeah, yeah, I got called worse than that.
What did you get called?
Oh, gutless, soft, you name it, I got called everything, you know.
What is going on with New Zealand?
But even his critics would agree he's the kind of guy we could use right now.
There is the butler wash.
And Shane Bond has his own theories on why we're not performing. That our players are too spoon-fed, and we're often too hung up on the underdog mentality.
I hated the notion that we were just a team of battlers. To me, being an underdog just meant that wins were overstated and excuses were made when we lost, that we were never expected to win anyway, and I just don't think you play like that.
Is that still the case, do you think?
Oh, definitely still the case. I think that's the point. You're always talking the opposition up, and to me, we never talked ourselves up.
Not that Bond could ever be accused of being cocky.
This is where I've played since I was 18 pretty much, so it's a long time playing.
Ground?
One club, yeah, home ground.
Yeah. He admits that from his early playing days he's battled shyness, never feeling quite deserving. Even in his international career, he would often worry he didn't belong. You describe yourself as, a bowler who never scared anyone.
Yep.
Is that the case?
Oh, yeah, and I could still bowl quick, but there was never, I suppose that the way I played now in terms of my outward manner was no different when I played at high school. I never said anything, I never was, physically aggressive in the way I presented myself, and I suppose that's the one thing I carried all the way through, even for New Zealand. I never had that in your face, having words sort of mentality.
You're not a sledger.
Not a sledger, no, I'd be useless.
You're too nice for that. Strangely enough, as a small boy, he was just the opposite. He grew up in working-class Belfast on the outskirts of Christchurch, older brother to sister Tracy. Given what a mild-mannered man he became, it's a surprise to learn that he was a seriously naughty child. Kitten on a fire, which actually turned out to be fine. Your mum told me that you once vacuumed up the family bird. Is that true?
Yeah, well, apparently. I can't remember that. All I remember is things like throwing spoons through windows because I was too lazy to take them in for mum, and I think I crapped in a car once and rubbed it all over the upholstery, so yeah, it was a nightmare.
Was he really expelled from preschool?
Yeah, basically.
They didn't want him there any longer. It got so bad, Shane's mum, Jude, had to seek help. Do you remember taking him off to see the psychologist?
Yeah, we did, and we said to him, don't leave him with his sister. And the child psychologist said he'll be fine, and within 2 minutes he'd hit her over the head with a truck.
It just seems so completely at odds with the lovely man he's turned out to be.
It is.
With school, his naughtiness somehow disappeared. In fact, he became an introverted, often solitary child who'd spent much of his time here, the local park around the corner from his home. What did you used to do? How do you remember it?
Oh, this big tree here, I just used to set the wickets up and use it as my wicket keeper.
Yeah.
And then I'd just sort of head down, put the other stumps at the other end, and I'd just run in and bowl and hopefully hit the tree. And if I hit the tree, I didn't have far to run, go back to my mark, and I just used to come down here as practice as long as I could.
Shane already knew he wanted to play for New Zealand and says his father spotted his bowling ability early on. Sadly, though, that paternal guidance is no longer there.
I don't see my dad now. I haven't seen him for 6 years, which is a shame. There's things go down in a family that it's out of your control, really.
But he says reconciliation isn't out of the question.
My door's always been open. It's just, whether he's willing to walk into it and for 6 years he hasn't been, and I suppose I'm just going to sit back and wait for him to do that.
It's odd to think of the fact that he's had to watch his son on TV all these years.
It's strange. It's sort of, it's weird you sort of wonder what he thinks watching, and plus you also think of what he's missed with the 3 grandkids he hasn't met or been part of. Which, I mean, I suppose for me, you just move on with it. For him, I think it's sad because he's missed a lot.
S.E. Bond hosted Canterbury.
Like playing for New Zealand, this too had been a long-held dream. 10 years ago, Bond graduated from the police college and went on the beat in Christchurch.
Yes!
A job he says helped him gain the confidence he'd been lacking for so long. But it wasn't to be a long-lived career because he was too good at cricket. Picked the following year for a New Zealand A-team tour of India. And then, in short order, called up to the Black Caps, where he made an immediate impact. Yet it wasn't until this ball,
And he's bowled him.
upending Aussie great Adam Gilchrist, that he finally began to believe he was good enough, what he calls his defining moment.
My whole train of thought from being scared and telling myself what not to do turned into, I'm good enough to be here now, so let's just get on with it. And it was like my whole psyche changed in one moment.
And he now says that was one of the 2 best balls he was ever bowled. Pretty
That's
high
cool.
praise.
That's cool praise.
Has he picked that up? I think he has. What a catch!
He'd arrived on the international stage at 26, a little old for a debutant, but New Zealand had at last found the lethal fast bowler it needed.
Shane Bond on yet another return flight from a Black Cap.
But Bond's body couldn't sustain this kind of pressure. The more and faster he bowled, the more he began to break down, and what would become a career known as much for injuries as wickets. A broken foot, a torn stomach muscle, ongoing, painful stress fractures to his back. How much of a toll does it take on your body, being a fast bowler?
You probably better ask me in 10 years, see if I'm still walking around properly. I think the thing I don't miss is living on anti-inflammatories, and there's blood and you crap and you've got to crook guts and things like that. You're just pumping drugs into yourself to keep yourself going. It's not pleasant and it's not good for you, but it's sort of, in some respects, it's what you have to do to get by.
You've copped quite a bit of criticism, both from the media and from fans, who've called you soft. How do you respond to that?
Oh, it's hard. At the time, it was... I suppose I was comfortable in what I was doing in terms of my training and stuff, but it was I suppose it was a frustration. I always wanted to say, look, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm trying to prepare. It's just the way it goes. And in the end, I suppose I just accepted that if I was going to bowl the way I did, all I could do was prepare as well as I can, and if I got hurt, well, so be it.
4th out of 5.
The unnatural motion and immeasurable force of the fast bowling action was taking an enormous toll. The stress fractures just kept coming. So Bond took the uncertain route of surgery, as then untested on cricketers, even though his surgeon told him he may not ever play again. In fact, that it was possible he might not even walk again. Post-surgery, you can see the screws and the wire. Yeah. The surgery essentially fused 2 vertebrae together, making them stronger. Without those massive screws in your back, your cricketing career would have been over a long time ago, wouldn't it?
I think I would have probably made one more comeback attempt in 2004 and would have broken down, probably for the last time.
This was worth the risk.
It was worth the risk, yeah.
But Shane Bond's most frustrating break from the international game wasn't because of injury. It was the result of the biggest controversy of his career, which he's talking about now for the first time.
There was a chance just to say this is what happened. I think the bitterness and stuff, although deep down it's probably a little bit there.
Bond details what led to his becoming embroiled in an international firestorm when 2 opposing big-money cricket leagues formed in India in 2007, documented in a book due out tomorrow. He explains why he signed with what would become branded the Rebel ICL, and says he only did that after getting verbal and written assurances that his Black Caps position wouldn't be in jeopardy. Would you have signed if it had meant that you wouldn't be able to play for New Zealand?
No. No. It's always been about playing for New Zealand. Always.
And then New Zealand cricket comes back to you and tells you what?
I can't play an unsanctioned cricket and play for New Zealand. Yeah.
Which is not at all what you'd been led to believe?
No. I got permission to play in the ICL. So it's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
New Zealand cricket bosses had come under pressure from the international governing body, and Bond was blacklisted. But as a man of his word, he felt he had to honour his contract. Did you feel shafted?
I did at the time, yeah, definitely.
Do you now?
No, that's gone now. Yeah, no, I got a chance to come back and play, so that's in the past.
710,000, 720,000.
His lifeline back to the Black Caps came about with the collapse of the ICL, and also meant he could play in the competing but sanctioned Indian Premier League.
And the winning bid is Kolkata Knight Riders,
where he was snapped up at auction for more than $750,000 US. They were heady days, playing in a country where cricketers are revered. What was it like? Because you're surrounded by all this hoopla and media and models. It must have been surreal for a boy from Belfast.
It's the one time I felt like a superstar, when you go there and everybody sort of knows who you are, and they all want a piece of you. And and then to go out and play in front of 60,000 people screaming your name, you know, it was unbelievable. It was a great experience.
No ball is the call, but that was a shot.
With the big money has come greed too. Cricket has become beset by corruption scandals and match-fixing concerns, which Bond reveals he may have been victim of.
You know, you look back now and you question games. What was it because I was good enough, or was it because someone wasn't trying their best? And I think I think the players who aren't doing it deserve better than that.
Do you think there have been games that you've played that have been fixed?
Yeah, I think there are.
Can you pinpoint which ones?
I probably could, but again, I don't want to just throw muck out there when I don't really know. But I think as a player, you get a sense of, you've been around cricket long enough, you know when things are legit, I suppose, and when things just don't fit and just don't seem right. And I think if you asked any player going around, they could probably tell the games that have just not quite felt right.
So how will Shane Bond be remembered? Cricket writer Richard Bock was critical of Bond's decision to play in the ICL, but still has the utmost of respect for him.
Just one of New Zealand's most courageous cricketers, incredible determination and commitment and courage. His courage just stands out above all else. He had to deal with so many problems and injuries, and he had to perform in the face of such adversity in terms of his own body, that it was just near to a miracle that he was able to perform as he did.
How will history record Shane Bond as a New Zealand cricketer?
Probably as the greatest bowler that never really played for New Zealand, because he missed more games than he ended up playing, but the small amount of games he did play, he was phenomenal.
Just 6 months into his retirement, Shane Bond is now considering his future options. Coaching, of course, is one of them. He has aspirations at the highest level. But for now, it's welcome time at home with his 3 young children and wife Tracy.
Well, then we just start.
You feel, see that there? You feel the bony bits in your back? That's where it is.
Eldest daughter Katie will miss the crowds chanting her dad's name. As she put it after his last game, no more Bondy. Katie, what did you say when your dad stopped playing cricket? Can you remember? But maybe her strongest memories of his career will be much like everyone else's. No more
Injury.
I think you're right there, love. I hope so.